Let's save these. Holy ish! It's a decorator.
Hey guys, let me have a shot.
Thank you for chiming in to Sofa Juice. I'm your host, Dion the Giant. Thanks for returning once again. And on today's episode, we'll be delving back into the Legends Vault, and we'll be talking about one of the biggest icons in the corn industry as we know it. This man single-handedly changed the trajectory of the industry by way of sheer genetics alone. And this man is none other than the trailblazer, the pioneer, the entrepreneur, the whole shebang, Peter North, a.k.a. the Rope King, a.k.a. Al the Beer Can Brown, a.k.a. the Load Warrior, a.k.a. the Master Blaster, a.k.a. Matt Ramsey. Pause. To my knowledge, Peter North originally came from Nova Scotia, Canada, but he was founded in California where he was working in a party as a model, and that's where he was introduced to some people in the industry that later connected him with the late, great Jim South, who was the founding father of the iconic World Modeling Agency. And for those who don't know, Jim South played a major role in the formation of the corn industry as we know it, and pushing the culture forward from the early days to where it is now today. In fact, the World Modeling Agency was the very first agency for the corn industry, if I'm not mistaken. It was the go-to place for a lot of up-and-coming talents, directors, and others affiliated with the industry. Despite the ups and downs that were experienced on behalf of the agency, it was the incubator for a lot of the legends that we now know of today. It's just something to think about. And I would even argue that the reason that the corn industry is failing, in comparison to the golden era, well, one of the reasons is because there are so many people that want to be in front of the camera nowadays. Everybody wants to be the next corn star, and nobody wants to be the mastermind behind the camera, like Jim South was. Just to add on to that, you can see this with OnlyFans, like this OnlyFans generation. You have a plethora of content creators on OnlyFans that want to be in front of the camera, smashing beautiful women, but none of them want to get involved in the marketing and promotion of their own content. And if they do, it's they're very limited in terms of how they do it. And then they wonder why they're forgotten in a year or two. Nobody even cares about them, unlike the legends that we grew up with. So that's just something to think about. But getting back to Peter North, when he did his first scene under the name Peter North, as he said in an interview, he worked with 3 women and the other guy was unable to perform. It said that Peter serviced all 3 of the women. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the scene, so I can't really attest to that. But the pop shot was legendary, and this was groundbreaking. None of the directors, producers, or other talents ever seen anything like this before. It's funny because I remember at one point there was a rumor that Peter North actually had 2 prostate glands. And some other people were still in disbelief, and they just assumed that it was some type of special effect by way of the video editors. However, though, there were numerous women in the industry in interviews that did attest to the fact that Peter North's pop shots are in fact real. And we still don't really know how he does it. At least I don't. I know in an interview with Men's Health magazine, he did mention that he stays hydrated with coconut water. And in another interview, he mentioned zinc and vitamin E. So I'm not really sure, but it's just interesting to hear the different takes on it, And as a result of the first few scenes that he did under the name Peter North, he eventually received numerous calls, and eventually, his body of work led him to the popularization of the facial pop shot in the corn industry, thus giving rise to him to become one of the pioneers of the facial genre as we know it. In the mid to late 90s, you had series like Elegant Angels, It Don't Matter, Just Don't Bite It, Extreme Associates, Rock Smokers, and even series in the mid 2000s like Richard Moulton's Facial Muff Catchers, which were all great series, by the way. But I would argue that all of those series in which were somewhat inspired by the early works of Peter North. Although there were actors who did facial pop shots before Peter North entered the industry, nobody personified it to the degree that he did. And at this point, it's suffice to say that Peter North has done countless classic scenes, so it's hard to really specify each scene per se. But I would say among my personal favorites, a lot of the work that he did with Sarah Young back in the 90s was really good. Another classic scene with Nikita Denise from the movie Deep Abyss, Part 8, which came out in 2002. And I think that came out on his own brand, on his own company. Another good scene I would recommend is a scene from a movie called Pickup Lines, Part 2, which came out in 1995, and it starred him and Jill Kelly. Also, keep in mind that Peter North has an extensive history for working with first-timers, and among those, one of my personal favorites was, and still is, Dominique Simone. Although I couldn't find the name of the film, she did mention in an interview that her first scene was with Peter North. And this eventually paved the way for her to develop her own body of work and become a trailblazer in her own right. Without this sequence of events, we may have not seen the rise of another legend in the game who she helped transition into the industry. And that legend is no other than Lana Sands.
How you doing? I'm Peter North. And if you've watched adult movies, you probably know who I am. And if you know who I am, then you know what I'm famous for. And that is the pop shot. This is not a scripted infomercial or anything, and I don't want to go on too much about this, but I've taken things to help me with those pop shots, because genetically, no one can do that. I mean, I've done like 1,500 scenes, and between that and my personal life, that's a lot of pop shots.
Peter North was also one of the first corn stars to have his own enhancement pills. In fact, in the mid-2000s, he introduced his own line of pills called Maximum pills. And these were said to increase the volume of your loads. Over the years, his name was associated with other brands. In fact, there's a new pill that's out there. I don't know how new it is, but it's still on the market being sold. And I don't know if he has any involvement with it because it has his name on it. But so I don't really know. I'm not too sure of it. But there are pills out there. I think it's called like the Peter North load pill or something. And on the technology side of things, Peter North was a pioneer as well. In fact, he was one of the first people in the adult industry to dabble into the world of augmented reality. He and his longtime partner by the name of Craven Moorhead created an app called the Decorator, which was released in about 2010 to 2012, somewhere around there. And it was a really fun app. It allowed the user to take a picture and a computer-generated pop shot over the image. But unfortunately, the app was removed from a lot of online sites over the years, and it's pretty hard to find now. But it's still out there if you look for it, I believe. Overall, I think the app was somewhat a precursor to your more modern augmented reality apps, such as the Naughty America Augmented Reality app, which allows you to bring an AR hologram version of your favorite corn stars into your own home or any other environment of choice. Now, keep in mind, on the topic of this augmented reality stuff, the AR revolution in the corn industry has just started. And although there are a few companies making big money off of it, it's still a fresh, untapped market to delve into. On a side note, Craven Moorhead also did a lot of work. He did a lot of camera work and on Peter North's Gonzo series, which was pretty dope. Deep Throat Disc and North Pole series, and I think he did a few others in the late 90s, early 2000s. I like the angles that he used, so that was pretty dope. As far as 2024 is concerned, Peter North has now retired, and the game has changed in a lot of ways. Once he retired, it seemed like the facial genre started to fizzle out, and I wonder if him leaving the game had something to do with that, because he was like, the anchor for that genre. Like when you thought of the facial genre, you thought of Peter North. I mean, there are some other guys out there that follow up as well, but he was like the man in terms of that type of work. I think also another thing that may have contributed to the dying genre of facial content is that there was an actress by the name of Maddie O'Reilly, and she created a campaign in 2016 on social media stating that facials are stupid, and some other talents actually agreed with her. Maybe that kind of influenced directors and producers to kind of like lean away from the facials as well. But whether her message was internalized by others in the industry or she was just trying to send a message for shits and giggles, I'm not sure. Even to this day, like, you have to search far and wide to find that type of content. Like, there are still some sites, like you got like Clips for Sale and some places, mini vids and stuff, where you can kind of find like facial content. But even now, it's still few far in between in comparison to the amount of facial content that was produced, decades ago in comparison to now. So, it is like a dying genre in a lot of ways. And even a lot of the OnlyFans content creators don't really focus on that. So that's, like I won't say untapped market, but there's a market of, buyers there that totally get overlooked. And also, there is an official documentary on the life of Peter North that's on the way. The last recent update pertaining to this documentary was last year in 2023 on social media. But as of now, I'm not sure if it's been released or not. I mean, I searched numerous platforms and sites to see if I can find it, but I couldn't find anything about it, so I don't think it's been released. So hopefully it comes out soon. A lot of people, including myself, are on the edge of our seat waiting to see this documentary. I'm sure it's going to be really good. So that's going to be really fun to check out. On that note, that's all I got on this topic. The legend, the Load Warrior, Master Blaster Peter North. But come back soon, and thank you for watching Sofa Juice. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your host, Dion the Giant, and I'm out.